I've had several conversations already at this conference, so many of you know that I started baptizing more kinds of people than I used to. Some people say amen, some people say oh no. Littler people, using less water, I might say. Things would get very interesting had I continued to use the same amount of water as before on the new recipients. One of the lovely things about this growing Fight, Laugh, Feast community is the palpable unity among Credo and Paedo Baptist. My message today is not one in which I will tell everyone to go baptize their babies. The chocolate Knox has told you enough times. I'm sure he will remind you again soon. The theme of covenantal parenting, of covenant children, will come up though, and that is at least quite close to the topic of infant baptism. So, lest any unnecessary hostilities arise, I want to lay out a few weightier matters of the law here at the outset. They are as follows. There is one church, one Lord, one faith, one baptism. One God and Father over all. Indeed, there is one bread, one cup, one table of our Lord, and we feast at that table together as the one bride of Christ. Moreover, you can find Credo Baptists who put too much distance between themselves and their children, and too much distance between the promises of God and their children. And you can find Paedo Baptists who put too much distance between themselves and their children, and too much distance between the promises of God and their children. You can also find boatloads of parental faithfulness in both. My point is not that the issue of the water doesn't matter. My point is that we must keep things in their proper place, which this particular community has done very well and seems to me to be on a path of continuing to do so. So thanks be to God for all of that, and carry on as you were. By the way, I recall R.C. Sproul once saying in a friendly debate with John MacArthur, R.C. Sproul said, "I am a Credo Baptist. I still baptize people upon profession of faith all the time." That's quite interesting when you make the shift I did, because you're like, oh, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just baptizing more people. With that foundation laid, the American family is in shambles. It has been eviscerated. The devil hates the family. He is at war with the seed of the woman, which means, among other things, that he is at war with the family. One of the key hollow and deceptive philosophies of our day could be called individualism run amok. I recall a point from Carl Trueman in his recent book, The Rise and Triumph of the Modern Self, where he said the older generations used to dance with each other. Think of something like a folk dance or the Grand March. But now, given the rise of our expressive individualism, we no longer dance with each other, we dance at each other in some weird gyration in a nightclub. This individualism gone wild has taken us far afield from the covenant family and left us atomized and easily manipulated by an ever overreaching state. So it's high time for a recovery of the covenant family. If I could boil down a central point for this talk, it would be this. The story God tells of our Christian dominion to the ends of the earth includes our children. If he does not leave them out of the story, then neither should we. In other words, we do not take dominion as mere individuals, but as families, as households. As you venture out with swords to slay dragons, you go as a family, and the whole household wields these blades from the greatest of them all the way down to the least. In other words, we are not waiting for our children to become arrows. They are arrows, and this by God's kindness to us. We are not waiting for our children to be placed in the hand of a mighty man. They are in the hand of a mighty man, and this also by God's kindness to us. This is Psalm 127:4. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. So I'd like to address three headings expounding this story God tells of our Christian dominion that includes our children. First, what we're up against. The second heading, God's strategy for covenant dominion. And finally, a bucket load of promises for the Christian's children. First then, what we're up against. We're up against a new and pagan religion which doesn't recognize the creator of the family or its very nature. A lawyer friend of mine recently said to me, legally speaking, your children don't belong to you anymore. Now, this legal phenomenon will take time to manifest itself, and God can certainly turn things around, but the argument runs like this. If in Obergefell we have redefined what husband and wife is, then we have by necessity also redefined what father and mother is. If we do what is contrary to nature regarding marriage, then what is to stop us from doing what is contrary to nature regarding the fruit of marriage, namely children? It is no surprise then that the acceptance of gay marriage has quickly resulted in attempts to speak of gay parenting, in which a man who refuses the natural relationship with a woman, thereby avoiding the responsibilities entailed, and thus by definition cannot beget children, would contract a woman's womb, her eggs to artificially inseminate, her breasts to artificially lactate, and then store her breast milk in the fridge so he doesn't have to keep her around. This process also, of course, involves stripping her of the fruit of her womb and her very inheritance that the Lord knit together in the secret place. As Lewis said, we have pulled down deep heaven on our heads. We assume that we live in a world where we open and close the womb rather than one in which God opens and closes the womb. We arrived here by rejecting the Creator. We have forgotten that children are a miracle. They're an absolute miracle. I mean, we all know this, but we've forgotten it. It's a glorious miracle. You know, she comes home one day and says,
Wanted, young men to rebuild Western civilization. Must be unafraid of pain, blisters, intellectual rigor, and a lifetime of long shifts with swords and shovels, digging ditches, repelling invaders, and reading stacks of books taller than their fathers. Must be impervious to manipulative women of all sorts, giggling virgins, cyber skanks, and even full cauldrons of Karens or hand-wringing clergy, but always seeking to hear and heed the words of Lady Wisdom. Immune to the leadership of hypocrites and LARPing online masculinitods, unaffected by abusive authorities, petty professors, and all brokers of official respectability. Willing to hoist the Jolly Roger and Johnny Cash's favorite finger whenever faced with idolatry. Long-suffering joy and determination required. Must be willing to dwell among the tombs and graves of the long dead, seeking truths that cannot die. Exhaustion guaranteed. Conflict guaranteed. Mortality guaranteed. New St. Andrews College. Liberal arts for the undaunted.
We're back. Welcome to CrossPolitic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving.
What happened?
It's Christmas now. It's Christmas. I mean, to be honest, Thanksgiving was a difficult month for us.
I see we're Catholics now.
It was kind of sad.
Thanksgiving was a month?
Yeah, it's always a month. I mean, November's Thanksgiving, right? We had some deaths and everything. So my family started playing Christmas music pretty early during Thanksgiving. So Christmas, I mean, is the earliest I had on my hands. I mean, the mutiny started early. But
a mutiny. Your people are playing Christmas music.
My kids, I had a mutiny on my hands.
We sing Christmas carols all year long in the Sumter House.
That's true.
We don't stop.
You just bust out.
Don't stop. Jesus is born all the time.
So because it's Merry Christmas,
yeah,
and if you got our magazine, here, this is basically 24 days of Advent devotionals in our Fight Laugh Feast magazine. Super excited about it. Digital copy will be coming out.
You didn't put David Shannon on there?
Yeah, David Shannon's.
I know, but he's not featured.
I'm not on the cover.
The feature.
It's my first publication.
Very first time, David Shannon, and he's not even on the cover.
Well, that's your son. You need to address it with your own family. That's
River.
River actually has a devotional in here.
What?
Yeah,
that was a good idea.
That's a good idea. It's a great idea. Someone suggested that.
You know what though? Your son didn't even put you on here, Pastor Toby.
I know.
He's a good guy.
I know. I was going to talk to him about that.
Jesse. Hey, wait. River didn't write one.
Oh, did he not?
We told him to.
I know. I thought he was.
I told him to.
I know. I thought
he disobeyed me too, and you.
He's not even in there.
No. But we got like a lot of Greyfriars in here. Yeah. Zach Browning, Kellen Meyer. We got some elders.
Yeah.
Joe Rigney's in here. So we all basically, I'm in here, Knox in here, Toby's in here. We all kind of wrote a devotional for each day of the 24 days leading up to Christmas.
Tyler Moraine.
And Tyler Moraine's in here. So Samuel Davidson.
Lennox Califungua.
Lennox is in here.
That dude can write.
Samuel's from India.
Yes.
Really excited. Yeah, really excited to hear what his devotional
Samuel
is.
Davidson?
Yeah. So there'll be a digital copy coming out for you guys and everything. But the hard copy is beautiful. Really excited about it.
It's so nice to hold.
There's a good recipe from my sister-in-law, Katie. If you guys have ever had any of Katie's food,
her food is so good.
She's so good. And she it's amazing how she can cook for such big crowds and it still be not dry, hot food, stuff like that. So
my son River did do one of the Idolatry Today entries. California bans Santa Claus from checking the naughty or nice list. California legislature recently signed into law a bill that requires Santa to deliver presents to all homes in California without prior knowledge of whether the children there have been naughty or nice that year.
That's funny.
The whole conception of naughty or nice list is racist, said one senator. Disadvantaged communities don't know how to make it into Santa's good side. When asked for comment, St. Nick reportedly said, kind of pointless, really. I haven't delivered a present in California since the 80s.
When Reagan got elected.
After Reagan.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good, River.
River did that?
River did that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. What a solid.
John Branyan did the others, but he did that one.
That's great. So my kids, whenever.
Oh, best of the internet.
Best of the internet.
This River helps with this one, too.
This is the first spot my kids turn to when we get the magazine. Best of the internet, everything.
I just want to say that's really weird. To like the best of the internet inside of the magazine.
I actually like it.
It's just weird.
Kind of fun. Where is it? I don't even know where it is.
This is the very last 2 pages or 3 pages.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Are we even doing a show? Doesn't seem like we're doing a show.
We are. We got Pastor Jacob Reaume coming on. Of course we're doing a show.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Is your smartphone a tool in the service of Christ or a minefield of distractions and temptations? With soul-killing seductions just a few taps away, our families and churches must embrace biblical accountability on our digital devices. Accountable to you. That's the word accountable. And then number 2.
There's a lot of people that need accountability right now.
Makes transparency easy on all your family's devices by sharing app usage and detailed browsing history, including incognito mode, with your spouse, parent, or chosen accountability partner. Accountable to you helps your family to proactively guard against temptation so you can live with integrity for God's glory. Learn more and try it for free today at accountable2you.com/FLF. Again, that's the word accountable, the number 2, the word you.com/FLF. We're really grateful to have with us on the show right now, live, coming to you from the 51st state.
No.
From northern Montana.
No.
Still got it wrong.
Born and raised in Guelph.
Guelph. Where's Guelph?
I don't know. We'll have to ask him.
Somewhere in the 51st
Jacob
state.
holds a master.
Is it the 51st state?
Holds a master. It's in northern Montana. From the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky. He became pastor of Trinity Bible Chapel in August 2009. Jacob is married to his high school sweetheart, Joanna. Together, they have 6 kids. Jacob leads a church in Ontario, Canada, and was threatened with up to $10 million in fines and possible jail time.
That was personally
for not complying with COVID mandates.
Church was $50 million.
Now, hold on. Trinity Bible Chapel. I'm not done reading it. Trinity Bible Chapel has been fined about $220,000 and convicted of contempt of court twice. And that's so awesome. And there's still the threat of millions in fines to be decided in future cases.
And that's not up to date, but it was $50 million, up to $50 million.
Okay,
that's what it was.
Pastor Jacob, thanks for coming back on CrossPolitic.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. How's it going up there in northern Montana?
Fine and dandy. Yeah.
Where's Guelph? Where's Guelph, brother?
Guelph is in southwestern Ontario.
Okay.
It sounded kind of Viking-ish, and I mean Jacob is
he's kind of Viking.
He's kind of Viking.
Yeah, it sort of is.
Yeah.
Okay, so our president.
We actually got a video first from Fox. This is Fox covering it.
Our president talking to his president.
Not his. Our Fox covering the potential that this really happened.
Okay.
And Jacob's got.
Okay.
Go ahead. Let's roll this clip real quick.
And tonight we're getting some new details about that Trump-Trudeau dinner from two people who were at the table. We are told that when Trudeau told President-elect Trump that new tariffs would kill the Canadian economy, Trump joked to him that if Canada can't survive without ripping off the U.S. to the tune of $100 billion a year, then maybe Canada should become the 51st state and Trudeau should become its governor.
Wow. Burn.
You're dependent. So
I mean, kinda. Who's burning here?
so Pastor Jacob, do you want to become the 51st state of America?
I don't know. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, would you tilt your camera down a little bit for us though?
Yeah.
Put that at the top of your head. There we go.
How's that? Is that better?
Our producers are happy.
Yeah,
Our producers
they thumbed it up.
thumbed up.
Okay, good. Well, I mean, we might be a little bit better off were we the 51st state. I mean, things have been a little rough out here, and our constitutional order has been decimated these last few years and continues to be in a tailspin. Yeah. So I think, I mean, I guess as a Canadian citizen, you watch this go on, you say, well, I mean, what is the raison d'etre for Canada at this point in time? We used to be British North America, but that was abandoned a long time ago. And why are we who we are? And our national identity has been destroyed by the present government. And so, you know, I can't say that I'd be disappointed.
Yeah.
But we'll take you and a few others.
That's the way I think about it.
I mean,
I'll take Pastor Tim. I'll take Pastor Jacob.
Man, just watching what you guys did recently during COVID to your people, I'm not so excited about the rest of y'all. Just so you know. I don't think that we have enough American culture to inoculate the rest of Canada to American society.
We lost.
Did we just lose Jacob?
Is Jacob gone?
Oh man, he didn't get a chance to hear my great comment.
He was offended.
He was so offended by everything I said.
Well,
here we're back on now, I think, eh?
Okay.
There it is.
It sounds like your mic. Did you hear that?
I don't know what's going on with this. Well, what did you say? You said you'd like to have me, but you don't think you'd like to have the rest of the country?
Yeah, that's basically what I said. I like you, and there's a few other people that I can count on that I like out there. But the way y'all did y'all truckers, the way y'all debanked people,
that's right. We don't want the rest of y'all.
I don't want Trudeau as the governor. Y'all gotta have the First Amendment. I mean, there's a lot of things need to change. Y'all need to have a lot more things happening.
More guns.
Way more guns.
We'll take more guns, sure.
A lot more mullets.
And a lot less weed.
Well,
a lot less weed. Yep. Sounds like a good idea.
You figure out what to do with the weed thing. There's not a way for America. It seems like to me, we can't inoculate our own kids trying to bring in another state.
Another kid.
I just don't. I think it would be
so that makes you a little uncomfortable. You're a little uneasy with that thought.
I really am. Yes, I
am.
Why?
What's concerning you? You think we're worse than California?
No. See, you gotta stop saying Jacob. You gotta stop saying we. You aren't.
No. Well, I'm part of this. I mean, I understand. So you think Canada's worse than California or just as bad? So it would probably. It might tip the scales of the electorate.
I think we get a second California.
I mean, you guys have done this before, though.
It's true.
You've
look at us, Jacob.
You've annexed the nation before, and it worked.
Which one are you thinking of?
The Confederacy.
Yeah.
Things are going so well for us right now.
Is that a positive argument, Jacob?
What's that?
Is that a positive argument?
Well, I'm just saying that, I mean, you absorbed the Confederacy into the Union, and you didn't have an American or a Southern president elected for 100 years, so it didn't seem. And prior to that, there were Southern presidents regularly elected. So it seems that you somehow managed to absorb another nation at one point in time. So why couldn't you absorb us?
Yeah, again, Jacob, I don't like the way you keep using this word "us." I think you need to divorce yourself.
Was that an uncomfortable statement that I just made?
No,
I feel like I sucked the oxygen out of the room on that one.
No.
So he's torn right here at a different level than I am.
I think we're at such a different place right now with the idea of globalism and the lack of identity with our nation. that it is hard for us. I think I don't think my brothers probably feel the same way I do about this, but I'm really at the point where I'm like, I want to pause everything. I ain't talking about bringing nobody in. I want to secure our borders, and I want us to get right real quick.
I mean, I suppose we could do some sort of emancipation of proclamation just in Canada.
It's not y'all, Jacob. It's us, okay?
No, look,
it's y'all.
We got the same problems, but we need someone to help us out. Like, I wonder if it's so far gone up here, whether we would, we even have a flying chance left.
Well, Jacob, up until January 20th, those borders are probably not going to be secure. I recommend you make haste.
Yeah, well, I'm not leaving. This is home. This is home. I'm not leaving, but I'm just saying we could use some help. And if your president wanted to help us out, I think there's a lot of people up here. There's probably 20-30% of the population that would welcome it at this point, maybe even more. I guarantee all those truckers in Ottawa a couple of years ago would welcome it. And it was only about 20% of the population that got Trudeau elected. So
yeah.
But Jacob, I barely want California to be a part of the
I know.
So if we can figure out how to fix California, maybe we can talk about y'all.
Well, just don't let Canadians vote for a few years.
I'm fine with that.
They already can. We literally, I had a Canadian in my Twitter thread saying, I went down, I'm on the border of Canada in BC area.
You're kidding me.
And he went down and voted in Washington and
State.
went back right up to Canada just to see if he could. And he did.
Oh, he did.
I blame Jacob for that.
Yeah, see.
So wait, all right.
You said my point. Like, you guys, I mean, after the Civil War, Confederate soldiers weren't allowed to vote for many years.
Right.
So why don't you just, annex Canada and then just don't let us vote? And we'll do that.
Do you actually think that I told my economics class today that we were talking about this. We were talking about tariffs, and we were talking about how this impacts economies, and Trump's threat to raise tariffs significantly, and the fact that this came up apparently with Trudeau. And Trump is like the kind of outside the box kind of guy that's like, I would like, maybe he was kidding, maybe he wasn't. But what do you think, if you're talking to people there in Canada, Jacob, what is actually helpful? What do you think would be helpful? I mean, are you actually saying like, yes, the annexation, that would be the most helpful thing? Or are there other ways in which
look at this,
Trump could be helpful? Trump could, is there ways that Trump's administration could actually be helpful to Canadians short of annexation?
Well, I think him pushing our government to get control of our borders and get control of the people coming into this country is a massive help. I mean, truly and honestly, if we do get hit with 25% tariffs, because the amount of exports going into the United States, it would completely destroy our economy. Like, it would tank us. The factories would all shut down, and it would be done. So I don't know whether he's going to do that. He seems to be honest when he threatens these things. So we'll see what happens. But I think him pressuring our government with the threat of tariffs to get our borders under control is massive, because we've had, so you consider Canada, 6-7 years ago was a country of about 38 million people, 37 million people. And so we're bringing in about 1.5 million people a year. Now, if you bring 1.5 million people a year into the United States, that's not a big thing because you can absorb them because you're 350 million people.
Well,
but it's worth 38 million, and you're bringing 1.5 million people in a year, 2 million people in a year. So now we're sitting at about 42, 43 million that's jumped by about 5 or 6 million over the last few years. The demographic of the country has completely changed. Like, we're losing our social cohesion. And so this type of pressure, I think, is helpful. But I mean, if we get hit with these tariffs, and if our government doesn't get their act together and get this border thing under control, then I think we're in big trouble.
Jacob, how do the tariffs actually affect your assemblies and your work there? You said that a lot of places were shut down. How does that work?
Right. That's right. Well, I mean, our number one trading partner is with the United States, and likewise, United States' number one trading partner is with Canada. And so manufactured goods in Canada are regularly going across the border, especially here in Ontario at Detroit. And I think that's the busiest border crossing it might be the busiest border crossing in the world, certainly in North America.
Mm.
The amount of volume that is going over that bridge every single day. And so if the price on Canadian goods is jacked up by 25% because of a tariff, our businesses and our factories will be tempted to move down to the United States, and Americans will be less ready to buy our products.
Mhm.
So it will hurt us. But again, our government has made so many stupid decisions over these last few years with as it pertains to environment and global warming. I mean, we really should be pumping oil down into the States so the Americans could buy our oil. That's been kiboshed by Trudeau. We really should be tapping our mines. We have massive amounts of minerals under our earth. I had someone say, like, our economy, if you look at our real GDP compared to the United States, since Trudeau got in power, our real GDP was higher than the United States until Trudeau got in power. We got out of the 2009 economic crisis and we were the envy of the world. But once Trudeau got in power, our real GDP has been going down, and it's now way substantially below the United States, even under Biden. But I heard someone say recently that if we actually tapped our natural resources, we could turn our economy around in a week, but our government hasn't done it because they want to protect the environment. Well, these tariffs are going to force them to make some pretty difficult decisions. So I had someone tell me the other day, well, if Trump pushes through these tariffs, it's going to cause massive problems to our economy, and it will. But at the same time, the threat of them is forcing our government to allow us to be more competitive, and they've hindered us from being competitive for too long.
This doesn't seem like a big ask from Trump, right?
What's that? To clean up our borders?
Yeah, that's just seems
well, I mean, that's what the Canadian people have been asking for several years.
Right. This seems
And
like
Trudeau now listens to Trump.
Well, I
not
mean,
the Canadian
yeah,
people,
that's yeah.
Jacob, would you see this as like us loving y'all as a neighbor if we did this?
I don't know. It's hard to say because Trump has said that the tariffs are going in no matter what, and then we'll reevaluate them after the tariffs go in. So I don't know what it's going to happen once those tariffs, once the inauguration and those tariffs go in. I mean, it's going to hurt us, but certainly giving an ultimatum like this and giving us the opportunity to clean up our act, I think is a positive as far as our immigration problem up here. And it's a fact. Like, why are we having Palestinians riot in our major cities?
Right.
I don't understand it. We have massive amounts of immigrants coming in from India, and they're pooping on our beaches in the summer because they poop on beaches in India. That's part of their culture over there. And so we have some of the most beautiful freshwater beaches in the world. And you don't want to go to them anymore because the Indian immigrants are pooping on the beaches.
Jacob,
yeah, I know.
Jacob,
yeah.
you're making a good case to join, bro.
They're eating
Well,
yeah, I'm just telling you.
It's nasty.
Yeah, so they can keep that.
Right.
Culture.
So you're mixing cultures that they don't jive. Whereas I have more in common with someone from upstate New York than I do the Punjab area of India. So it's just not, whatever's going on in this country is not working. So by Trump forcing us to clean this up, I think that's a positive. But these tariffs will hurt us.
How do you
go in? There's no doubt about it.
Let's say, Jacob, let's put this in the context of like us striving to build a Christian nation. America, let's say, is working on becoming to honor God. Canada working on to honor God. We have some problems on our borders stuff. We have some problems between our countries.
Sure.
I guess the other side of the question is, well, is Canada loving America in this process too? How would you? I guess maybe first I'd love to hear your thoughts on like kind of the Christian nationalism discussion that's gone on for the last couple of years, and maybe kind of then get into talking about this maybe between maybe in the post-mill future between two different countries like Canada and America.
So you want my thoughts on the Christian nationalism discussion?
Yeah, first. Love to hear what are your thoughts?
That's
on
a broad question.
But
what do you want, the last 2 years or the last 2 months, right?
No, I mean, I would say like what
the last two millennia. What's your
I think the law of God should be supreme. The 10 Commandments should be our highest authority in the nation. That really, in effect, should be the constitution of the people, is the 10 Commandments. And so I'm a Christian and I'm a nationalist. I believe in nations. I'm not a globalist. So I don't really have a problem with Christian nations. In fact, I think it would be much better and it's what we should have. So in that sense, I'm in favor of it. But because our national identity in this country has been so destroyed. I just think over time, national identities change. So something's going to have to give in Canada that's going to unite us again, because right now we're going into we're dissolving into many different bits at this point in time. You got this city over here that's one group, you got another city over here, it's a mess. So there is no national identity holding us together. And there was a season there as Canadians when our national identity was, we're not Americans. Well, even then that doesn't even hold us together at this point in time, and that's kind of a weak identity as it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question about my views on Christian nationalism, but yeah, I'm a Christian and I'm a nationalist. So I guess you could say I am in favor of a Christian nation.
Yeah,
for sure. Some of the racial stuff that's gone on more recently, I'm not in favor of, sure, but that's another discussion.
That's just because you don't like Indians pooping on your beaches.
Definitely don't like Indians.
I don't like that. Nobody should like that. I don't like you if you like that.
Okay, now let me apply this to okay, let's say we're working on trying to be a Christian nation, both America and Canada, and Canada's not honoring and loving America well, so America slaps down a 25% tax on it. It's like, hey, you guys got to straighten up.
Well, look, I don't think we've been the most. No, I don't think we've been the most benevolent neighbors over the years. So if you look at all I thought about this 20 years ago. If you look at all the social programs that Canada has, so socialized healthcare, which is garbage, and the list goes on. Socialized daycare, socialized medicine, socialized dentistry, it's all garbage. And then you look at the amount of money that's going into our military, which is nothing. So essentially, the Canadian social programs are being subsidized by the American military. Because you guys put so much money into your military, we don't have to worry about a military.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So I do think that we've gotten, if we want to be an independent state, then we should be an independent state, and we shouldn't be feeling entitled to be subsidized by the American military. And if we're not subsidized by the American military, then we're going to have to get our own financial act together.
Mm-hmm.
And our government has failed dismally at it. We're in a terrible financial situation. I think I said, coming out of 2009, we were in a decent financial situation. Might have been the envy of the world, much better than the United States, but since Trudeau's got in, it's just a disaster.
That's interesting. So there, Canada is able. So we're subsidizing Canada's fiscal irresponsibility.
I think by providing us with military support, yes.
Right.
And so it is a fact that we have not contributed our fair share to NATO. Trump's highlighted that.
Yep.
And because we have, a tin can army at this point, we don't have to put money into our military, and that allows the government to fuel money into all kinds of wasteful spending.
Right. And what's crazy? So my wife,
people pooping on the beaches in Canada.
My wife, is a health and fitness consultant,
right?
And one of our clients is in Canada, and she has her go get blood work done, give me your blood work and all that stuff,
right?
And so she tells our clients, here's the blood work you need.
Right.
Now, most doctors aren't going to give you that, so you need to specifically ask for it.
Yeah.
She goes in. She doesn't have a doctor. She's been waiting 3 years or 2 years, something like that, for a doctor. Okay. And so he has to go into quick care, what we'd call some sort of quick care,
right,
to get the order on the blood work.
Okay.
So she goes and gets it. She gets the results back. Nothing she requested, half of what she requested.
Okay.
And it's it's all free for her, right?
Right.
Half of what she requested.
You get what you pay for.
So she has to go back into the quick care,
to
get the other, and she still doesn't have a family doctor.
Yeah.
It takes Jacob, you'd probably know better than me, but it's taken it's taken me her 2 years to be on the wait list, and still doesn't have a family doctor.
Yeah, y'all can keep that, Jacob.
Yeah, you don't want it. And you don't want it. I learned that very quickly. I lived in the United States for 5 years, and we had 2 babies born down there, and then we were able to compare the systems pretty clearly. And you don't want socialized medicine. It's not good. We actually don't have socialized medicine. We have socialized waiting lists.
Wow.
Jacob, this brings me to something. I think Gabe was kind of pushing it a little earlier, but it seems like I don't like Trump's tariffs at all. I don't like what he's doing with the tariffs.
Right.
But here's something that I think is interesting.
I think I do.
I don't. But here's something that's interesting.
Fight.
We'll fight in just a second. It seems to me, though, the bigger threat of all of this is globalism. And Canada has fully bought into the globalistic idea.
Or at least Trudeau has.
Trudeau. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, there's no pushback. There's no stop. I don't know how so I have to believe that's what they want.
Well, the Canadian people, the sentiment of the Canadian people has switched against globalism and immigration in a way that I've never seen in my lifetime
Really?
in the last 5 years. Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting. What has been that? What is
The overwhelming majority of Canadians are now staunchly opposed to immigration, and what's pushed us this way is the massive amount of immigration that we've seen on unprecedented levels from cultures that are inconsistent with our own.
Now that's interesting.
And that's
Like Canadians prided themselves 15 years ago on being very tolerant and inclusive,
yes.
multicultural. That's gone. The common parlance, the common talk at the coffee shops now on the street, people openly, and now it's gotten to the point where I'm uncomfortable about it. I have to actually kind of lean into it a bit in my preaching, because yes, we're against the reckless policies, but the people that are here, we do have to show them love, because some of them have been hoodwinked into coming to this country, being promised the sun, moon, and stars, and they get here and they're being totally hosed. So, I mean, they're not necessarily the enemy. Many of them are not the enemy. The enemy is the government that's done this to us and to them. And unlike you all, many of them have come here legally, lawfully. So I heard the other day, so remember, we're a country for 42 million people. There's 4.9 million visas that expire in a year. 4.9 million. Wow. That's over 10% of the population. Their visas are expiring in a year. And the government has said, we just think they're going to go home on their own. We don't know how they're going to leave. 10% of the population.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It's unreal. So we've never seen anything like this. And it's almost like we went through COVID. We had to deal with all that nonsense. The people woke up to how corrupt their government is. And then they're like, oh, we got to deal with this. So we're going to dilute the population with millions and millions and millions of people from other countries that are easy to manipulate.
Well, how is it then, if that's the sentiment, how is it? Because Trudeau hasn't changed. How is it that he's still the leader of the country?
Well, there's an election there'll be an election for sure in about 9 months.
Oh, that could change.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you think is going to happen?
I think you're going to have the Conservative Party sweep in. I think it's going to be the biggest conservative victory we've ever seen.
Interesting. So kind of maybe a little bit of a ripple effect, maybe, from what's happening down here.
No, I don't even think that has anything to do with it. I think what's happened down there is going to embolden our conservative movement. I think it'll be good for our conservative movement in that way. It'll embolden them. But whether Trump got in or not, our conservative government would have swept in 9 months or whenever the election is. It could be any day, but I think it'll be about 9 months.
Why is it? Could it be any day, but it might be in 9 months?
Well, because the way the parliamentary system works is the parliament could topple the government at any moment. But the reality is, I don't think they're going to, because the majority of the parliamentarians need to stay in power for another 9 months in order to get their pensions.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We would totally do that in the U.S.
Oh,
we totally. Yeah.
So how conservative is your conservative government that you think is going to sweep?
I don't know. They're not great, but they're better than what we have. I'm not super excited about them, but I do think he'll be better than Trudeau. And I do think that with the pressure that's coming from the States right now and the sentiment of the Canadian population, I think it's going to be better than it's been. But I don't know, like, how do you clean up this kind of a mess? I don't know if they have the stones to clean up the mess.
Yeah.
Like, you really need like, Trump has the stones to deal with some pretty hard issues. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if these guys do.
And he's got some real currency now, in a way. Yeah. Like, he's been suicided twice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's fought woke culture. He's fought media, and people
lawfare.
Prosecuted for completely frivolous crimes.
He's got some real money in the bank account.
Nobody pardoned him.
I've never seen in any politician.
Yeah.
Which is why Dr. Jay Bhattacharya is going to replace Fauci's boss.
Right.
Yeah, like, what he's doing with that type of stuff is absolutely phenomenal. So, it gives me a lot of hope to see the people he's appointing. Every news cycle since the election has been a positive one, but these 25% tariffs are a little scary.
So
for
Pastor Jacob, we got, our story a little bit. In 2016, none of us voted for Trump. I know in 2024 now, I did vote for Trump this year.
Yeah.
And because I really believed he was going to appoint some good Christians like Pete Hegseth and Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. I believe that, and he has. But are you making the same calculation for your potential PM in Conservative Party, where it's like, are you going to vote for him?
Well, so our system is different in that we don't vote directly for the leader. Like, we're not voting directly for the prime minister because the head of state's actually the king. So we're voting for members of parliament to go to parliament and form a government. So the individual that's running for the Conservative Party locally is a Christian man. He attends our church. And so, I mean, he's got my vote and my confidence.
Yeah. Okay. And then so they go and, let's say, vote for the new PM.
Yeah. They'll if you get a majority of conservative members into parliament, then the governor general asks them to form a government, and then the government is under the prime minister. Yeah.
Interesting.
And it will be I have very little doubt that it'll be a massive majority of conservatives that will get in this time. Yeah.
Okay.
So what else are we missing? Anything else? So Trump and Trudeau talk. Trudeau's concerned about the high tariffs. You're concerned also in recognizing this is going to be this could be pretty dramatic.
Well, people in my church will be unemployed. Like it's going to be a disaster if it happens. Yeah.
And do you think it will go through?
Well, Trump has said it's going through regardless, and then once it goes through, you can clean up your act, and then I'll think about pulling it away. So,
yeah. Interesting.
Our government has to do a lot right now to prove to Trump that we want to take our border seriously, and if they can do that, then I think he's been good on his word on things like that in the past, and I think it's to the United States' advantage to have a good trade relationship with Canada because we're your largest trading partner. I mean, most American exports are coming up here too. So there's a massive amount of goods being shipped to Canada from the United States, and you're making a lot of money off us.
This might sound a little cold, but it seems like Trump is solving your problem with a little pain too, right?
Well, I've had the same thought, but I don't want to see people in my community lose their jobs.
100%.
But I do think that the pressure from Trump is good, but I don't like tariffs, and because I care about my community.
So that's where I agree with you on the tariff thing. I know if, let's say, Trump put tariffs on China, that would likely I'd have to pay more for my TV or something, $2 more, $20 more, whatever it is. But I also am sympathetic to but we're also dealing with a communist regime that is, what is all that? I got too many alarms.
Sometimes we turn off our notifications.
Yeah, it's probably on my iPad, and so it's in there. But in some sense, China is just a bad faith player. They're using the Uyghurs for slave labor. We're competing with a communist regime that just plays all sorts of funny games with electronics, manufacturing money. And so, if we assess some tariffs on them, we'd start building TVs back here in the U.S. and maybe I pay extra $100 more. But those are U.S. jobs, and those are U.S. TVs now, and we're fighting a communist regime instead of giving them money.
Well, you wouldn't be outsourcing to the degree that you are if you let the market decide things, right? One of the reasons that we're outsourcing is because there's so many regulations on businesses here.
Thank you.
So foreign governments and countries have an unfair advantage over our own factories.
Right. Now,
if you have a $17 an hour minimum wage, okay, you have unions that have a chokehold on industry.
Come on,
then you have massive amounts of environmental regs, and then an entire system built up around compliance as far as health and safety goes, as far as taxes go. Like, it just chokes businesses. Like, I have several family members that are small business owners, and the most miserable part of it is just simply dealing with compliance. It sucks the fun right out of it. So that's one of the reasons that factories are overseas. And if the market was freed up here and we get rid of those regulations and as you call it, the deep state, this massive deep bureaucracy was done away with, then we probably wouldn't need to manufacture stuff in China.
I totally agree. But
preach, boy.
I would say, for one, it's great to see a pastor thinking clearly about economics.
Yeah.
Right. It's a rare thing. But I agree. And I wish Trump would start there with the deregulation.
Well, I mean, isn't that kind of what?
And he's doing it. He
Isn't that what
will
they're
do
kind
it.
of doing? I mean, isn't that what the Doge is about?
Yeah, but the Doge doesn't have power. The Doge is just going to make recommendations.
Well, good start.
And it might be, and those
recommendations that we haven't ever had before. Let's just.
Well, we've had from the people. I mean, how long have conservatives been complaining about?
Right? I think the Doge and all those other things, I think that's going to help us too, because it's going to force us here to be more competitive. So if you actually do cut, I mean, I've heard figures 70 to 80% of the federal government could be cut in the United States.
Oh yeah.
And if that, like, Trump's literally talking about doing that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so if he does that and he cuts the IRS and the income tax, all of a sudden, and this is, by the way, this has happened a lot under Trudeau, is because the United States economy is more free at this point in time, is more appealing to business owners. We have had a lot of businesses move to the United States just for that reason.
Yeah.
A lot of people who have high earning potential move to the United States. Very skilled laborers are moving to the United States. So what are they doing? They're taking their money with them and they're going. And the minute Trump cuts 80% of the federal government, scraps the IRS, gets rid of the income tax, it's going to make it that much more appealing for Canadians to go down the states. So it's going to pressure our government to get more competitive to retain skilled workers and businesses.
First of all, you don't have to worry about that. That's not going to happen.
You don't think that's going to happen?
I hope it happens. But
No,
remember,
because
Trump's a
here's why.
negotiator.
No,
He
let me-
starts high and negotiates to a good medium.
It's we're not built for that yet.
Yeah.
We're not built for that yet. When you talk about cutting 80% of the government, you know what the majority of our government is? There's three things that the majority of our, I mean, we got the army and the
It's like a
military.
Proverbs 3,
but
and then
you
there's
got
a fourth.
Social Security, you got Medicaid
Yeah.
and Medicare. And when people got to start paying for their own health care,
Yeah.
when people got to start paying for
Did you see what
their
Mike
parents,
Lee said about
taking
Social
care of their
Security
parents
today?
and making sure that they don't ship them off and let the government pay for them,
Right.
we're going to start feeling some type of way and say, wait a second with that cut to the budget now.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
I was supposed to have a dental plan.
Yeah.
But
My mama is living with me. You know, I'm just
Yeah.
saying now we won't feel the cuts are going to hurt so much right away. We won't understand the benefit of those things.
Yeah.
I'm for that.
Yeah.
I get you. But when you do something that fast, 80% of a
All of
budget,
a
you cut
sudden,
it that quick,
conservatives aren't acting
you're
conservative no more.
going to
Yeah.
lose. Your people are going to revolt. So you don't have to worry about that. We're not built for those kind of cuts yet. I pray to God that we get there
Yeah.
because I think it'll benefit us better. But we're not built for that.
Well, it wouldn't hurt.
No, I mean, depending on how you do it, you have to give people a taste of what success is, right? You build up to it.
No, you got to lead them along. You've got to lead them along.
You do.
and part of what's going on right now though is that Trump's like coalition. I mean, some of them are stinkers, but a whole bunch of them are winners.
Yeah.
And they're leaders. They're already leaders, and they're very popular leaders.
Yeah.
And so, Ron Paul has had some amazing ideas,
Yes, he has.
but has not been popular.
Right.
It's the first time ever.
And Elon is like hanging out with Ron.
I know.
And like, hey Ron, what do you think we should do?
Yeah.
And so there's this like there's a real vibe shift
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
And
There's a level of brilliance among the men or the people that are around Trump right now that you just don't typically see in politics. Like these
that's right.
very, very brilliant people. And it's very odd that this amount of intelligence would coalesce together,
because they're not politicians.
especially in government.
It's like
Right?
That is funny.
the understatement of the
That's
century.
100%.
Yeah, that this much intelligence would coalesce, and especially in government. But that's the thing is like that's what gives me. I'm with you, Knox. Like you're right. Like we're not ready for this. But if you have Elon and you have these other guys in this cabinet cheering it on and explaining it and saying this is why we're doing it, this is why it's going to win, this is how you handle it, this is how you cope, this is how you're better off.
Yeah.
Man, I think you could get further down the road.
I think so. I would like to see that.
Yeah.
I just know when people start, look, you can get free from Pharaoh and then complain in the wilderness with the fire and a cloud that covers you. Right? That's all I'm saying.
But a lot of that happens. A lot of that happens though because the elders of Israel were not on board.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's Moses, and then it's Moses and Joshua.
Yeah.
His own brother isn't with him. Aaron is like building the calf. You know,
Yeah.
like
That's right.
Oh, I'm not arguing. I'm just saying
got-
this is what happens.
I know, but I'm saying in a weird kind of way, Trump's got some of our elders.
Yeah.
And it's like these are leaders among the people, and if the leaders are encouraging the people and they're saying, hey, this is going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
This is going to be hard, but in the end, it's going to pay off. You're going to have more money in your bank. You're going to have more. And
we're going to throw a big American birthday party in 2026.
I love that.
I mean, the state not taking care of you and taking care of your grandma is better because you can take care of you. You can take care of grandma, and you're going to have a lot more money in your pocket. You're going to be able to band together as communities and churches, and you'll be able to take care of yourselves.
But I don't like my grandma that much. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Oh, Knox.
So I wanted to ask Jacob.
Hold on, I got to read
Biden
this ad,
thing.
and then you can ask him about presidential pardons.
But I got to go too. I got to coach a basketball game, so I want you guys to ask him about that.
No, we're not doing that.
We're not doing that.
The mission of Armored Republic. The
Okay.
mission of Armored Republic is to honor Christ by equipping free men with tools of liberty necessary to preserve their God-given rights. In the Armored Republic, there's no king but Christ. We are free craftsmen. Body armor is a tool of liberty. We create tools of liberty. Free men must remain ever vigilant against tyranny wherever it appears. God has given us the tools of liberty needed to defend the rights he bestowed upon us. Armored Republic is honored to offer you those tools. So visit them today at AR, the letters AR, the number 500, the word armor.com, AR500armor.com. So I don't know if you saw the presidential
I got to go.
pardon.
I really do.
Jacob, did you see that? The president, Biden's.
Love you, Pastor Jacob.
See you, Gabe. Great to see you again.
Yeah. Did you, Gabe's, now that Gabe's gone, we can talk about him. We were talking before the show, and we'll just wrap up with this, but like, can you think of what's the biblical, we all agree, biblical law is supposed to be governing our, and we are pretty convinced that this presidential part, I mean, well, it's rotten all the way through. But is there any biblical principle that you could think of that gives a president or some government official the right of pardon from criminal activity?
Mercy.
Injustice?
But in a judicial, like when someone has committed crimes.
Well, I'll take that. Hold on, I'll take that. God gives mercy, and yet Christ still paid for your sins.
Mm-hmm.
So not really.
So it's not really mercy in that sense.
Yeah.
In a legal sense.
Did you say you didn't know?
I mean, what happened with Biden's son isn't right.
Yeah.
Right. That's pretty corrupt. But I would like to think that there might be times when mercy is available to certain individuals under certain circumstances.
There's certainly biblical. One way there's a couple things that come to mind. One is, I wonder if the precedent for this thing. I mean, obviously it's gotten totally jacked and corrupt, but at least in America, the president is the commander in chief.
Mm-hmm.
So he is the commander in chief of our military, and so I wondered if this has any kind of precedent in military law. Where's our military attorney? We need our
Davis Younts.
Davis Younts. If you're listening, Davis, maybe you can chime in. But I wondered if there was some precedent in military law, because military law frequently has, at least historically, has much more severe penalties for a lot more infractions. Because I believe the principle is when you're in war, if you're disobedient in some way, those infractions are potentially costing human lives.
Mm-hmm.
Lives are at stake. It's a life and death kind of thing. But I can imagine a scenario where, what you did could have cost human lives, and therefore in military law, maybe all the way up to death penalty was possible. But then a commander, officer says, you're pardoned, because the action itself didn't demand that penalty. But given the military law, it could have demanded that penalty because it could have cost human lives. I was just thinking maybe that would be one scenario. The other one only other thing I can think of is just that I do know that in common law and in biblical law, we have maximum penalties, which are not always required.
Right.
So there are, I believe that a lot of the criminal penalties given in biblical law are maximum penalties. And my take is that the death penalty is only required by biblical law in murder.
So what would you say to David pardoning Absalom, or wanting to pardon Absalom at least, and Joab went against David's wishes and he suffered?
Well, I mean, part of that situation is that David didn't do justice. The first thing he should have did was kill his son for raping the daughter, his
Right.
daughter,
Yep,
right?
right.
Like that's where he failed at.
So I think that was David's Biden moment.
Right. And so the pardoning it shouldn't have even had to exist. And he was actually being, I mean, both sons actually should have been judged properly.
Right.
One is
was Solomon unjust to execute Joab then?
No, I mean, because Joab had murdered multiple people, right?
Right, but I think the what Joab did with Absalom played a significant role in Solomon
Likely.
calling, it was Benaiah to execute him.
Right.
And I get the sense from that text that Solomon was justified because he was doing so under David's order, and it helped establish his throne.
Right. No, absolutely agreed. I guess I was just thinking he was a bloody man.
Well,
Oh, are you back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, he's here.
Okay. So I think with Absalom, David should have actually killed Absalom too, though.
For the rape of his sister.
Well, for killing a man that he didn't have the authority to kill, right? So Absalom's brother was the one who raped his sister. Absalom then sets his brother up and kills him.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
right? So then
Right, but my point is that David ordered Absalom or Joab to show Absalom mercy and treat him gently, and then Joab was executed for not following through with those orders after David's death, posthumously. But Solomon carried out the execution, and I think the text lines it up that it was a just execution.
Yeah. I'm inclined to think that too.
Go ahead.
I'm just.
So then, how do you get a pardoning from that?
Well, I think there was. I mean, was David wrong? I'm asking the question: was David wrong to tell Joab to be gentle with Absalom?
Yes.
Okay, and then Joab's not gentle with Absalom, and Joab is executed for it justly.
Okay. And so from that, you can argue that then there is a place for pardoning people who are guilty.
I think so. I think there might be a place for it. I mean, I'm not a fan of Absalom, that's for sure. But I do think that there is a place to pardon people from time to time. And I think your example of military law might be it.
I would have
court-martial.
I guess I would have, I'm not saying there's not ever a time for pardoning. I guess I would say that the kind of pardoning that I would want, if I can find that it's biblical, I'm still thinking through that one, is that whatever the crime was that was done, because obviously there was some sort of crime, that justice is restored, the victim is made whole, something is done. It might not have to be from the individual. If you're going to pardon, then you take on the responsibility as the state to be able to fulfill making the victim whole, and then not executing the justice on the perpetrator. Right. That's the kind of pardoning that I could say.
Which is following the example of Christ.
Right. Exactly. But go ahead.
No, like David, I think, and just reflecting on this, like I think part of David's desire was to heal a divided nation, right?
Right.
And that might have been why he wanted to show some mercy to Absalom, other than the fact that it was his son. But I do think what Biden has done, I don't think he's healing a divided nation. Now he's perpetuating the division and pardoning his son, who it seems that he even might be complicit with on some issues.
Yeah. In his cover letter to the presidential pardon, Biden says, I believe in the justice system, but as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected this process, and it led to a miscarriage of justice. And once I made this decision this weekend, there is no sense in delaying it further. But I believe raw politics has infected this process, and it has led to a miscarriage of justice.
You don't say.
It's like that's an understatement. I mean, you're the one that your Justice Department has been perpetrating all kinds of raw injustice.
Yes.
Over the last 4 years against pro-life Christians, against President Trump.
People who were with President Trump,
people who were walking around the Capitol building on January 6th.
Yes.
And people who are taking pictures. I mean, it's insane. The hypocrisy.
Jacob, I'm going to have to think through that. That's actually a really good point. I'm going to think through that and get back at you, because I'm still trying to work out. I think we would have a very limited use then for a pardon, though.
Well, I don't think Joe Biden used it justly because it hasn't helped the nation at all. It's perpetuated division. There's no doubt about that.
That's a good point.
And it looks like he's covering his own skin. I mean, I can't prove anything, but there's a lot of weird things that have gone on with Ukraine, and it's. And then you have these so-called, what are the January 6th rioters that are still in jail, and all the prosecution against Trump.
Yep.
Like it's just perpetuating division. Whereas I do think with David, he wanted to heal a divided nation. So I mean, after your own Civil War, there was a level of honor that was shown to some of the Confederate generals.
That's right.
Rightfully, in order to heal the nation.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, I think there's got to be there is a reflection of the gospel impulse in this, of like if there is a way to bear this burden in a way that doesn't allow injustice to rip apart a nation or land on victims. Yeah. That ought to be an impulse. I think frequently the Jesus juke gospel trump card is played way too often and easily. And people just say, well, you're a Christian, so don't you think we should pardon all the murderers? Don't you think we should pardon all the rapists? Right. And and you have Christian groups that actually, do that. Like that's all they do is they're trying to get everybody pardoned. And they're playing this, this gospel, get out of jail free card thing constantly, which is not just. That's perpetuating evil. And as Jacob's pointing out, it's contributing to the brokenness in our nation. Yeah. When justice is not actually being regularly carried out. But yeah, that's good input. We'll do this again. We'll talk more about presidential pardons, justice, and Canada. Will it become the 51st state?
Jacob, thank you for joining us, brother. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. If you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is CrossPolitic.
Legacy media is falling apart, and as it crumbles, a void is opening, a void that we intend to fill. The big legacy news networks currently average just 1.2 million viewers a weeknight, and those numbers are only going to get lower. Legacy media is dying, and the younger generation has moved on. Legacy media panders. Legacy media lies. Legacy media does not know what the truth is, and they don't care about it. Legacy media is a dumpster fire. This is why we few in our wild imaginations have started the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Our goal is to take down the legacy media giant of the last 50 years with our 5 stones. We started in 2016 with our flagship show, CrossPolitic. Since those small beginnings, we now air on DirecTV. Our broader podcast network now gets over 4 million downloads a year. And our Fight Laugh Feast pub, which includes TV shows like This America, The Rowdy Christian's Guide, Pastors in Politics, and As the Lord Pleases, with your support, many more to come. Our goal is to become the flagship new media 2.0 network over the next 50 years and take over nightly news, sports, sitcoms, hunting shows, and more, all conveniently stored for you in our Fight Laugh Feast pub. We're already reaching the next generation through our podcast shows on YouTube, X, and our pub, while also tapping into legacy media audiences by airing our shows on TV through DirecTV and Xfinity. We have made a lot of progress with some duct tape and a good bit of intuition and a lot of sweat. And now we need your support more than ever. The TV networks have had such a negative impact on our households, and we're trying, by the grace of God, to put a stop to that. We have the opportunity. We just need the army. Now more than ever, we need you to join our pub to help us reach our goal of 1 million pub supporters in the next 5 years. There's no way around it. Competing with Fox and the Alphabet networks without money is virtually impossible. It's cheap for you to join. And when you do, you're combining your small monthly support with a growing army of like-minded Christians. We have thousands, we need millions. So if you want more of the Alphabet network's misinformation and lies, don't join. But if you want to give us a mere 5 stones, then please join the pub, and together we will take a swing at the head of big media, all the while fighting, laughing, and feasting to the glory of God.